Hi everyone, my name is Harisam Sharma. So this is going to be a special and unique video in which I will be sharing my competitive programming journey with you guys, right? So I'll be describing how I started off as an absolute newbie in the world of competitive programming and became a master within a span of 2 years, okay? And while I'm at it, I'll also be telling you guys how exactly did I practice and how I overcame all the barriers that came in my way, right? So this is going to be a step-by-step breakdown of my journey from newbie to pupil, then specialist, expert, candidate master, and finally master, okay? So yeah, with that, let's get started. So let's start with phase 1, that is my journey from newbie to pupil, okay? So as you guys can see, I started doing competitive programming seriously around mid-November 2020. I mean, I actually gave a few contests in April 2020 as well, but then I kind of left it for more than 6 months, so I won't be counting in that time period, okay? So it took me around 1 month to go from newbie to pupil. So I don't really have much to say about this transition, mainly because I did not learn anything particularly new here. You know, I had done a basic data structures and algorithms course from a university, and I simply applied the knowledge that I gathered from it in the few contests that I gave in this time period, okay? But nevertheless, for anyone who is stuck at newbie, I would recommend having a good grip over high school mathematics, you know, topics like factorization, multiples, GCD, LCM, basic properties of prime numbers, and algebraic identities and stuff like that. You know, stuff like that is more than enough to reach pupil. I mean, you don't really need to know any specialized algorithms at this level. Just try to enhance your mathematical skills as much as possible, okay? I mean, of course, you should be knowing some basic ground level algorithms like the Euclid's GCD algorithm, binary exponentiation, etc. But the bottom line is just be regular in giving contests and improve your basic math skills, and you'll be good to advance to pupil, okay? So yeah, with that, this is about it. Let's now talk about phase 2, that is from pupil to specialist, okay? Right, so again, as you guys can see, I reached pupil on December 15th and then specialist on February 15th, 2021. So it took me exactly 2 months to go from pupil to specialist. Now, this is the time that I actually started learning programming related stuff and various tricks and techniques like prefix sums, difference arrays, two pointers, etc. Also, most importantly, I learned the concept of binary search. I mean, not advanced binary search or binary search on answer or things like that, but the basic concept behind it and searching in a sorted list of elements, etc. You know. Now, I also started strengthening my grip over the C++ standard template library, or as you call it, the STL. Now, this is something that is extremely useful in competitive programming. The data structures it provides, like sets, multisets, maps, etc., they are just very helpful in solving a lot of problems. Like, it's pretty much impossible to survive in this world of CP without having the proper knowledge of STL, okay? Again, now the STL also provides a built-in implementation of sorting and also of binary search. So it provides us with two functions, namely lower bound and upper bound. So make sure you kind of master how to use these functions and also the difference between the two, okay? Cool. Now, the first 3 months of my journey were pretty smooth for me, you know, since I was witnessing constant progress in the form of increased ratings. But one thing that you all should know is even if your journey is not as smooth in the initial phase, you know, there is no need to feel disheartened. Mainly because in CP, your rating gain is not always directly proportional to your actual growth, okay? So it may sometimes take time for your progress to be reflected in your ratings. I mean, that's just how it works, right? Anyways, so this is it about this part of my journey. Let's now go to the next phase, which is phase 3, from specialist to expert, okay? Cool. Okay, so like this is the time that actually made me realize the harsh reality that, you know, progress in competitive programming is not always a linearly increasing function, you know. You hit road bumps on your way and it's totally fine, okay? I mean, that's what this sport is all about. So as you can see, I fell from 1484 to 1351 in a matter of just 4 contests. Now that is not something very uncommon here, but it had happened to me for the first time in the past 4 months. Now this rating loss made me practice even harder. I started grinding like 80 plus problems every month from this period onwards. Now as far as algorithms are concerned, this is the time that I actually started learning dynamic programming. Yeah, the most important topic in the field. Now of course, this was not the stage where I actually gained any sort of mastery in DP. All I did was solve and understand some conventional DP problems, like the longest increasing subsequence problem, maybe the longest common subsequence problem, edit distance, etc. And that was it. Okay. The main reason for that being that I was not good enough to reach a DP problem in a diff2 Codeforces round, right? So other than that, I was like consistently learning various techniques from reading the editorials of the problems that I was practicing. Okay. Now these were just short tricks, but they formed a very strong base for me. For example, I learned about the sieve of Eratosthene, which is a concept which can be used to solve problems of various difficulties, from basic 1200 level problems to 2400 level problems as well, as hard as that. Okay. So yeah, it was more than like 4 months of being stuck at specialist that I was finally able to cross the blue barrier, as they say. And I was also, at that time regularly participating in Google's coding competitions. And as you can see, my performance there was pretty average, like mostly getting 4-digit ranks and, reducing the number of digits by 1 occasionally. Now, this is the performance in Google Kickstart for the coming year, that is 2022. And as you can see for yourself, what 1 year of rigorous hard work and dedication can do, right? So yeah, if you are someone who gets intimidated by the results of other people, I assure you, you can achieve such results too, provided you put in the appropriate amount of efforts. Okay. Alright then, let's move on now to phase 4, which is from expert to candidate master. Okay, so the 6 months that followed after I became blue were a really memorable and cherishable time period for me. So as you can see, there were a few times that I reached extremely close to becoming a candidate master, and yet for some reason I kept failing. Okay. Now at this time, I started grinding problems really hard, raising the count to around 120 to 140 problems per month. And I also learned lots and lots of new stuff. I practiced a lot of DP problems from the Codeforces problem set itself. And I kept the difficulty range around 1700 to 2000 mostly, right? So in the process, I became extremely comfortable with recursive DP, first of all. So I was no longer, afraid of implementing multidimensional DP solutions, those 3D or 4D DP codes. I was no longer afraid of that. And another concept that I practiced rigorously in this time was advanced binary search, that is binary searching on answer. Okay. So I realized the utility of binary search. Beyond just searching in a sorted list, there were even problems in which, instead of spending 10 to 15 minutes to come up with a proper mathematical formula for something, the formula could simply be replaced by a simple binary search. Now, this is something that still saves a lot of my time during live contests, along with a lot of brain power as well. So yeah, that is why, people like Amnik say that binary search is undoubtedly the most important topics in competitive programming. Okay, cool. Now like the harsh reality is that even though most people think that you need to know a lot of advanced stuff to become purple, to become a candidate master, all I did was absolving the contests that I took part in, and learning new short tricks and techniques from reading the editorials. And that is that. I did learn some basic data structures. Some data structures that I did learn at this point included sparse tables, basics of segment trees, and also Fenwick trees, essentially the basics of range query structures. Note here that I did not have any knowledge about the advanced version of these data structures. I only knew how to handle, simple range queries and simple point updates. Okay, cool. Now, after like coming so close to purple a few times, I realized that I needed to work on my speed first of all, okay? Because if I can solve 4 problems fast enough in a diff 2 round, I knew that I would reach purple pretty easily. And so I made, a major change in my way of practicing. So what I did was, whenever I sat down to solve a problem, what I'll do is I would just start a 30-minute timer before reading the problem. And if I couldn't solve the problem in 30-minute time period, I would simply consider that I failed to solve the problem. Okay, it was sort of an internal thing. Like if I can solve the problem in 30 minutes, that would give me, a feeling of internal satisfaction. And otherwise, I would not take it personally. I would just slow down. I took another 15 to 20 minutes to think calmly before looking at the editorial, obviously. Okay. Now, what this did was it created a feeling of pressure, somewhat similar to what we experience while giving an actual contest, right? So this is something that helped me a lot to improve my speed, and I would highly recommend doing this in case you want to solve problems fast enough, right? Also, finally, the last thing that I did in this time period was to transition to using iterative DP instead of using recursive DP. And trust me, if you are someone who starts writing a recursive function with memoization as soon as you see a DP problem, and you've been doing this for more than 3 to 4 months, I would say, then it's time for you to start writing iterative DP solutions. I mean, at least for problems in which the order of transition is not very complex. So there are a lot of reasons for this. I mean, definitely iterative DP is faster, and there are also a few optimizations that you can achieve if and only if your solution is iterative in nature. And also, I would say that if you have the proper clarity of how dynamic programming works, then writing a iterative solution should be more natural to you. Okay, cool. Also, another thing that I would like to mention here is that this is also the time period in which I started with this very YouTube channel when I was an expert. Okay, so I was quite overwhelmed with the kind of support and the awesome comments that I used to get on my solution videos. I'm really humbled and thankful to every one of you for that. I mean, I still remember it was Goodbye 2021, the last contest of the year, in which I was finally able to become a candidate master. And I received a lot of messages from you guys congratulating me and telling me how inspired you are from my journey. So again, I am really, really thankful to all of those messages and the kind of support that I have got, right? All right then. So with this, let's now talk about the final part of my journey so far. Okay. So this is phase 5 from candidate master to master. Cool. So 2022 had just started and I had a new goal ready for me. It was to hit master as fast as possible. Okay. However, little did I know that this was going to be one of the hardest, not one of the, I would say this was going to be the hardest time for me in my competitive programming journey. I'm also kind of proud of myself for not quitting, since, I was already at a level where I could crack online assessments and interviews of companies pretty easily. However, I took it up as a challenge to get to master, since a lot of people that I admired and also quite a few of my friends from the IITD CSE department were masters. So I took it upon myself to kind of prove that you don't necessarily have to be a CSE student in order to reach orange, right? So yeah, I began solving all the Div 2 E-level problems from all contests in the past 2 to 3 years. And yeah, along with that, I also kept solving 2100 level problems at random as well. So I reached a peak rating of 2037 very, very quickly in just a month after becoming purple. However, this was probably just me being lucky because I experienced a steep fall in my rating just after that, dropping down to expert just as quickly. Okay. So I realized that there were some things that I needed to learn. So apart from just solving problems, so I started giving time to learning these new things. I learned about various concepts and techniques like binary lifting and LCA in trees, centroid decomposition, heavy light decomposition, string algorithms like KMP, Z function, suffix array, etc. etc. So yeah. Also, one very useful thing that I did was that I practiced a lot of segment tree based problems. Now this made me very comfortable with implementing segment trees from scratch, writing lazy segment trees and also answering extremely complicated range queries, stuff like that pretty easily. Okay. So yeah, I would say learning the core concept behind lazy seg trees instead of simply black boxing it will give you a lot of clarity as to when you can or cannot apply them. Okay. I also learned a lot of other topics, other ad hoc topics and mathematical topics like square root decomposition, Mohs algorithm, Mobius inversion, multiplicative functions, etc., to name a few. Okay. Now, I think that it is comparatively easy to figure out the topics that you need to learn. So it doesn't matter even if I miss a few of them here and there, right? However, what does matter is your mindset. Okay. You absolutely need to have a rock solid mindset. For me, there were times when I used to feel devastated after bad contests, there were a lot of times that I felt like quitting. You can see that I used to drop back to blue a lot and I kept going back and forth between blue and purple. But with time, I was actually able to realize that, bad contests are a part of the journey and I need to simply stop overthinking about them. And I also need to stop overthinking about my rating. Okay. So yeah, over the first half of the year 2022, I kept on practicing and solving more and more problems. And I was still solving, more than 120 problems a month with an average difficulty level of around 2100 while practicing. However, I was not able to see any noticeable growth in my ratings. Instead, by the end of May, my rating had dropped down to a mere 1735, contrary to my expectations, obviously, right? So this was a pretty testing time period for me, since now I also had to manage both my summer internship as well as competitive programming practice. And so I definitely slowed down my practice routine a little bit. But I was still taking part in almost all the contests that were being held. Okay. So this is something that I would highly recommend to anyone who feels that, they are currently in a time period where taking out time for practicing CP is not something which seems to be very feasible to them. Just keep giving all the contests and keep upsolving the problems that you were not able to solve, at least 1 or 2 problems. Right? So 80% of your growth can actually be credited to simply taking part in contests and upsolving the problems that you were not able to solve. Okay. Cool. So now by the end of August, my 7th semester had started, which meant that the on-campus placements were on their way, which in turn meant that I had to, shift my focus to a lot of other stuff like CS fundamentals, interview preparation, etc. So again, during this time period, I tried to take out as much time as possible for practicing, but it was still quite less, obviously. However, I was still giving all contests that were happening. And, with time, even though my performance was still quite unpredictable, my confidence level was gradually increasing and I was sure and I knew that I was really, really close. Okay. So in December, I was finally able to grab a satisfactory placement for myself. And once that was done, I shifted my entire focus solely to CP. I knew that I had a few months of free time now and then before the college was over. So yeah, I just came back to my old practice routine. And after exactly 1 year of becoming purple, I was finally able to reach master. And I think, yeah, it was in Codeforces round 841, the second last contest of the year. Okay. So now this was again a very emotional moment for me. I felt extremely happy and satisfied to see all of my hard work turn into something which is like, all of my hard work turn into actual success, you can say. And that day it, truly felt that giving more than 2 years of my time to this sport was totally worth it. So yeah, this is pretty much all about my journey down the memory lane. However, another thing that I would like to mention is that after reaching master, my next goal was to represent my country in the prestigious ACM ICPC World Finals. I'm sure all of you know what ICPC is. So I had one last attempt left, and so I formed a team pretty quickly. And for the next 4 months, we practiced a lot with we as in me and my awesome teammates, we practiced a lot. So we gave so many 5-hour long practice rounds from the Codeforces gym that we had lost count by the end. Okay, so it was again a very memorable and fun experience for me, right? So in the second week of April 2023, we went to the ICPC Kanpur Mathura regionals, and we were also fortunate enough to get an all India rank of 4 in the contest. However, as our team name Nothing to Lose suggests, we were not really able to make it to the world finals since there was a much stronger team from my institute that was ranked first. Okay, so yeah, I again learned a very valuable lesson here, that you will not always get what you aspire, right? Some dreams do remain dreams forever. But the thing that I can say for sure to anyone watching this video is that irrespective of whether you achieve your dream or not, you are never going to regret trying. Okay, so no dream is very big, sky is the limit. Keep trying, and I hope all of you guys achieve everything that you guys aspire for. Okay, so with that, we have come to the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching till the end, and I hope to see you here again. Goodbye.